I'm Shelly Turner with the Builderall team. In this video, I'm going to show you the new responsive builder for Builderall. So as you can see, I'm already in the editor and I'm looking at a template online courses. And it looks a little bit different than the drag and drop builder. First of all, I want you to notice that we don't have the desktop, tablet, and mobile icons right here anymore. We only have one single icon. Also, if we look to the right-hand side, we can see that we've got a drop-down list of all the pages that we have in our website. We also have the show hidden elements so that if something's hiding that we can't quite see it, we can actually see it by clicking that button. We also have the ability to hide elements if we don't want them to show on the web page, but we don't want to delete them. We have undo and redo. We have a ruler. We also have grid lines. We've got grid lines right here at the edge, and we've got a second set of grid lines. So there's two grid lines on each side. You can make those appear and disappear by clicking the grid lines button. We've also got preview. And when we preview, we can actually see what the desktop is going to look like, what the tablet is going to look like, and what the mobile is going to look like. So let's take a look on this one. We're right now looking at the desktop view. Let's switch it to tablet and see what happens. As you can see, it's taking all of the elements that were in the desktop view and it's rearranging them to show us what the tablet view would look like. And now let's take a look at the mobile view. Again, it's taking all of the elements and rearranging them to show us what it would look like on the mobile view. And now I'm going to return to the editor, and I'm going to show you a few things that are a little bit different than the drag and drop editor. So first of all, we have to think of everything in this builder as columns and rows. Now the rows are going to go side to side. They are horizontal, and the columns are going to go top to bottom. They are vertical. And if you'll take a look at this area, this is a row right here. The way we can tell is the beginning of the row and the end of the row are indicated by edit row icons. And then inside, we can see that we have one column. Each column that goes across your screen can be assigned a number. The maximum number of units that you can go across the screen is 12. We'll take a look at that in just a few minutes on how that works. As you can see down in this area, I've got more rows, but if I hover over, I can see that I've got a row with two columns this time instead of one. And you can see as I hover that the color changes and we get a box highlighted showing us where those columns are. Everything in here has to be thought of as rows and columns. Instead of using banners in this particular builder, we have rows. So if you go to the plus button, and normally where banners would be, we have rows, and then you can choose from the many different row types that we have available. So let's take a look at a blank screen, and we'll look more at the idea of rows versus columns. So I'm going to go to Pages. I'm going to click my arrow to go into the main layout, and then I'm going to click Add Page, and I'm just going to choose a blank page, and I'm going to name it Blank Page. And now it's added the blank page in there. And as you can see, the body has one row, and that one row has two columns. If I right click on that column, I can see that it's not been assigned a value yet. Remember we talked about a minute ago, it takes a value of 12 to go all the way across the screen. Right now we have no value for this column, so it's going to take a default value since there's two columns and you can go a total of 12 across. It gives them a default value of 6 and 6. Let's go ahead and work with changing things up a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is change the background so we can see a little bit easier. Now let's take a look at what happens when we start adding columns. I'm going to right click and choose add a column, right click, add a column, right click, add a column, and none of these are defined yet. So they all just kind of adjust to fit that default value of 12. That's the most that it can be across a line in a row. So let's go ahead and start defining these. I'm going to add one more column. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to start defining them as 2 so we can see what happens when they get a defined value of 2. All right, so now all of them are defined and magically they all fit. But it makes sense because if I've got 6 boxes or 6 columns and they're each assigned a value of 2, that would make 12. So they fit perfectly across the line inside of my row. But what happens if I go over 12? Let's check that out. I'm going to take this last column and instead of a 2, I'm going to define it as a 3. And as you can see, it actually kept the first 5 columns on the first line, and it created a new line inside of this row with a new column, and that new column has an assigned value of 3. So I can take this new column that has an assigned value of 3 and change it to a 12. And now it's going to go all the way across, and these items do not go all the way across because they're assigned a 2. Now notice right here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I'm missing a column right here. It's actually got kind of a blank space. So remember that this one is a 2, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total for making it a total of 10. And I've got 2 that I'm missing, so I'm going to change this last one. Instead of being a 2, make it a 4. And now I've got a full line on this one, and I've got a full line on here. Okay, so even though I'm on this row, inside of this row, I have 2 lines. And inside of the first line, I have 4 columns of 2 and 1 column of 4. In the second line, I have 1 column of 12. This is the way you're going to manipulate your items inside of the responsive builder to make sure to put things exactly where you want them on the screen. It will also help when you start to edit for your tablet and mobile view, because now you can take areas out and you can make sure other areas are seen based on what you want to see on the desktop versus tablet versus mobile. For example, if I didn't want this column to be seen in the tablet or mobile, I could right click it and I could choose to disable the mobile and disable the tablet. And that way, this is not going to show up on the tablet or the mobile when this website is seen. And I love the fact that we now have icons here. So when I hover over this area, it shows me exactly where this column can be seen. And for this column, the only place that it would be seen is in the desktop view. Okay, so lots of neat changes here going on with being able to manipulate our page to make it show exactly how we want to see it in the desktop, the tablet, and the mobile versions. Now remember we looked at the fact that we no longer have banners, we have rows. So let's go ahead and add a row and see what that looks like. So I'm going to go to plus and rows, and I'm going to choose to add an About Us row. So I'm just going to click that. And what it does is it sends it to the bottom of the page. And we can choose to make that go higher on the page. So I'm going to go and edit the row, and I'm going to choose to click this icon and move the row up. So I'm going to click it once, and it moves it above where we were working before with the columns. If I want to move it again, I just click Edit Row and click the other icon to move it down. And now I've moved it up and down depending on where I want it in the screen. Okay, so we have a lot of capability of editing inside this editor to make everything appear exactly where we want it to appear, and we can edit for the tablet and the mobile version as well. So let's go back to our home page, and here's our home page, and we can take a look at the elements inside of this home page, and we can do almost exactly the same things that we did in the drag and drop. So right here, I'm going to right click, and that tells me it's a text box, and I can drag it anywhere inside that column and drop it in there. Same thing with this item. If I right click it, I see it's a text box. I have all of these tools available for the text box, and I can click and drag it to wherever I want inside of that column. The next one is the button. You can see that it's inside of this column, and I can right click and do anything I want to edit that button, just exactly as if we were in the drag and drop builder. Now, if I want to work with the rows and make some changes to the rows, all I do is find the top of the row and click Edit Row. You'll see that I get the row configuration, and from here I can enable or disable each of the views. I can also choose to edit the colors of this row, including outside of the row and the inside of the row. I can add an image to the background, I can add a video to the background, I can add color, or I can even add texture. Or if I don't like any of the style, I can click Clear Style, and it will clear out all of the stylings that I previously made. So there's a lot of things that I can do with editing the row. And then anytime I want to edit a column, all I need to do is right click in that column, and I'm in column configuration. And here's where I can edit the settings of the column, including defining what size it is. I can do a fixed size column. I can enable or disable the view on the different devices, and I can set up the background. And then I have the ability to affect the internal style of a column and the full style of the column. And then remember, I can duplicate this element. I can move it up or down inside of the row. So those are the features that come with columns. So now let's take a look at the best reason to work inside the responsive builder. Remember that it's responsive, which means it's going to be changing the size of everything on the screen based on what device you're working on. So to give you an example of how that works, let's take a look at what it looks like when we start to shrink our screen. Right now we're looking at the live published website. So I'm going to go to minimize, and now I've minimized my screen, and it's still showing as the desktop view because the screen is wide enough. Remember that you never do this while you're in the editor, because it will actually cause problems with the editor if you try to shrink your screen while you're in the editor. This is just to give you an example of what can happen when you're on a desktop versus a tablet versus a mobile device. So let's go ahead and start shrinking the screen and watch what happens to our window. So as I start shrinking the screen, you can see that it starts to resize things, including the font and the picture. And right here is probably where we're about at tablet size. And you can see that everything's starting to shrink. It reorganizes things. It scrunches everything in, but keeps all the perspective so that it still looks good, right? So let's go over to the top again, and we'll shrink it some more. And let's take a look at it, how it changes when we get close to the mobile version. So we'll keep shrinking. Pay close attention to the My Account and Login button to see what happens. And I want you to notice the font size. And as we start shrinking, you'll see things start to change. So I keep shrinking and keep shrinking. And now you can see that at about mobile size, we're going to move that My Account and Logout button to the center. Okay, it does that automatically based on when you open up that window. It says, okay, what's your screen size? And then it delivers the best display of this information based on your screen size. So let's go ahead and scroll down and see what happened to the whole page. As you can see, the font size is changing. It's reorganizing it a little bit. And I also want you to notice that these videos, along with the lesson information, used to be side by side, but now it's one on top of the other. That's another automatic thing it does to make the best use of the space that's available on your device that you're looking at this website with. So let's scroll to the top again, and we'll go just a little bit smaller and see what happens. So now we're about as small as we can go. This would be definitely a mobile device and what it would show. And if you scroll down, you can see that it's adjusting everything, including even the button size. And scroll down a little bit further, and you can see the video along with the lesson information and how it resizes and reorganizes that as well to fit the screen. So that's the beauty of the responsive builder and how it responds depending on what device you're using and how it displays your website based on the screen size. So that's just kind of an overview of what the new responsive builder allows you to do, including building those other views like tablet and mobile on the fly so you can get your website built quicker. You can build it as a responsive so it shows up correctly on any device, and you can use the tools just like you do the drag and drop builder inside the responsive. So that's a summary of our brand new Builderall responsive website builder.